David Medrano, by the way, just about 5-10 minutes ago, tweeting out that it could be 6 to 7 weeks out for Alexis Vega. All right, Herc, what's the impact of this injury on Alexis Vega and a future move to Europe?
That's it right there, right? The impact is the future move to Europe. He's 25 years old. And I know what people are thinking, well, it's only 6 to 7 weeks. There's some history here. Alexis Vega, 2016, I believe, when he was at Toluca, Unreal Tournament, Libertadores, just a teenager doing very well, ACL tear. And then there was another knee injury following shortly, a second operation, if you will. This will be a third. From somebody who's had 3 knee operations himself, same knee, ligaments, meniscal, cartilage, they all play an impact on your long-term health, and that's really what it is. Now, when you're talking about the short term, it's this jump, this move to Europe. It was supposed to be his time right now. He's 25 years old. That's not an age where European clubs are saying, oh yeah, there's time on his side. It was today. Now, we just had this conversation about Christian Pulisic not too long ago. It's the same thing. There aren't serious clubs that are really going to risk or gamble on you and your future while you're injured. Now add the 25 years of age to this. I know there are a lot of people right now in the Liga MX circle or North American circles that would like to think that this will not impact Alexis Vega going forward, but it will. And not only will it impact him going forward, it may impact his overall long-term health when it comes to his knee and that window of playing time that he has. It's very unfortunate. Think about if it's meniscal or cartilage, that's a brake pad that you're wearing down, and there is no changing of that brake pad. There is no regeneration of that meniscus or that cartilage, if you will. It's time that you're taking away from him. And right now it's 6 to 7 on paper, but you really need to take it slow because he's had that previous health issue with that knee. So this is a dagger, a big one.
I find the Pulisic comp interesting. Pulisic's younger, not much younger, just a little bit, but also already in Europe, right? So there's less urgency to make the move to Europe where we would compare him to Alexis Vega. To me, Herc, this is devastating. If what you said about Chivas is right, it's also devastating to Chivas. You basically said, correct me if I'm wrong, that as Alexis Vega goes this season, so goes Chivas. So this would be very worrisome for me because not only is he a star player, but there's 2 weeks left in the transfer window. I don't know how you possibly replace him from a Chivas standpoint. But from an Alexis Vega standpoint, I mean, this is it, right? This is kind of window closed because to me, you're never going to be in a better spot than you were after World Cup. You're never going to be in a better spot than you were after the last, let's say, 12 months that he had at Chivas. Certainly in terms of his productivity, it was about the best of his career. So with that gone, and the fact that he's going to be 25 now coming off another knee surgery, I just don't know if the interest that was there now wasn't enough to lure him away, because we know that there was interest, Herc. Remember, just a few weeks ago, he was saying, hey, this opportunity for a 6-month loan trial to Europe, that's not good enough for me. Well, if before this surgery, the interest wasn't enough to bring a good enough offer for Alexis Vega, how after this surgery is the interest going to be enough? I think this is the end of his European option, really.
It's sad, but it could very well be. Now, there are different stages or, I guess, levels of Europe. So what Sebi's getting at isn't he can't go to Europe. He can still go to Europe. He could still be somewhere in Europe. But those PSVs, those Ajaxes of the world, those teams that are really that platform for him to go bigger and better, that's very difficult. That window is closing. Now, you mentioned Chivas. I say this with all due respect. Chivas is the most irrelevant thing out of this formula, if you will, because they're not in it. As Alexis goes, Chivas goes, that's a given. That's out the window. I mean, you have to hope what they equip themselves with, what they reinforce themselves with. Santiago Ormeño's out the window. Danny Rios, Cisneros coming back. That type of player can hopefully fulfill some of what Alexis Vega would give you. But, man, if they were already a 7, 8, 9, 10th position type of team with Alexis Vega, I don't want to think of what they are now without Alexis Vega, but I'm talking about national team, Mexican national team, how that impacts them going forward. But it really is that European dream. And it's sad because if there was one player you thought could have realistically done something with the attributes that he has, with the type of player he is, with the moment capitalizing at the World Cup, it was Alexis Vega. Now that's gone.
Let's not lose sight, though, as we talk a lot about Chivas, of the national team, because this is potentially one less player. You've already got a very short list of guys in the European theater, Herc. And beyond that, it's another player, another important attacking player who has suffered a not career-threatening, but career-altering injury. And that list is growing and growing and growing. Raul Jimenez is on that list. Tecatito is on that list with his broken leg just before the World Cup. Mexico doesn't have a lot of elite playmakers in the final third. And you look across those guys for the Mexican national team, they don't just have injuries. They have really devastating injuries. You could put Chucky Lozano on that list as well. I mean, these are the stars potentially for Mexico's national team, and they have all had their careers dramatically altered. Mexico right now as a national team is going through a terrible, terrible injury spell.
Yeah, at least those players have had European careers. That's a reality. Tecatito Corona, he's been in Europe. He's had time in Europe. Raul Jimenez been in Europe, had time in Europe. Chucky Lozano, the same. They've all had success and their failures, sure, in Europe, but these players coming up should strive to be like those players and to better those players. But then you go to the JJ Maciases of the world who went to Europe, came back, that career-altering injury as well, or a player that just hasn't panned out like Diego Lainez. So the players who go abroad and who actually do something of worth are very limited. They're very few and far between. So Alexis Vega was that new hope, and he's 25 years old. So this is painting a picture of how dire that situation is in the attacking third for the Mexican national team.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.